I want to welcome you to the Rubin Center. It's a museum of contemporary art that is located in the campus of Texas University in El Paso, and it is pretty bilingual and bicultural. We have 85% of our students that are of Mexican descent or Mexican American descent, and a great percentage cross the border from Juarez City every day. The focus of the museum is on international contemporary art, and that is what we've done in our 10 years. We've had over 100 exhibits of artists from every continent throughout the world, and our visitors live both sides of the border. Let me tell you about specific case of a project that we did in the Mexico border and what shows us as a border museum and how we use these ideas as a template, not only to focus on border issues, but also to have our focus as a museum. Many of you might be familiar, at least conceptually, with the border between Mexico and the United States. We are less than a quarter mile from the border, and we face every problem of militarization of border and all the effects of the neoliberal development in Juarez City. And over the last few years, we've suffered a lot on the side of Juarez. We've suffered the effects and every binational weapons and drugs problems in this part of the world. We've often invited foreign artists to our border, and this first story I would like to say is about an artist that is called Tania Cambiani, a Mexican artist, and she was part of an exhibit called Battleground on Violence that focused on her work and that of the Guatemaltecan Galindo. She was supposed to come to our border in January 2009 to teach a workshop at Juarez City University with students from both sides of the border. It was a very important workshop that proposed to create weapons with everyday objects, and it would end on El Paso and Juarez City, and reflected that attitude of defense. 1 week before Tania was supposed to come, the El Paso University started applied a ban that would remain for 3 years, the crossing of students and teachers to work there. I know time flies, but what we did, when we got that piece of news, we had to change completely our idea of performance on both sides. And our students on both sides decided that they didn't want to do different performances in both universities, so they used Jason TV, which is the version of Skype, to do a defense performance with the students from El Paso, looking at Juarez City, and those in Juarez City projecting from a closed space in Juarez City. So there was this live performance that were done separately, and they were combined through the media. The resulting performance reflected much clearly and much honestly the situation at the border, that which we had originally planned, and that combined both sides of the border, and was the same situation on both sides of the border. So we had a couple of learnings from this performance that we applied to everything that we do in our museum. First of all, if you cannot be on the border if you are on the one side and looking at the other. Crossing always means abandoning your comfort zone, sometimes even taking personal risks. 2, being on the border implies symbiotic relations, but always with differences in powers, in costs and benefits. The museum is experienced at the border, and the border is experienced differently from different perspectives. And that is why it is always important to have different experts. To be truly border, you need to cross the border many times, and you need to cross many borders, trying, learning, and even building new languages. And finally, we need to be very attentive to responding to the reality of our images, but the reality that is changing and changes our practices. Very quickly, let me show you other projects where we applied this theory. This is Arcángel Constanti that created this box that had one element in El Paso and the other in Juarez, and they communicated through open source Skype on video, sound, and also with electric shocks for the person on the other side. Ivan Abreu that created this bubble level and created spontaneously to reflect balance. And we try to explore the both sides of the border, and we try to talk about experts on this water issue. We engaged different activists on both sides of the border. We also focused on the war on drugs, but sometimes in a playful manner. For example, Fernando Llanes doing relations between Mexico's revolution and the constant war on drugs. Some other performances from different places on the border, as Enrique Jesís, that was cutting the borders from different places. I know I'm talking very fast, but I just want to give you an idea of these border issues, which is so much more than a concept and a way of exchanging with the world. And remembering that crossing a border is a challenge, not only for a border museum, but for every museum. Trying to identify your borders and to identify the balances of power and trying to identify the new languages to reach new audiences.